Lynn Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
What are you doing?
What am I doing when I make that sound?
Oh, I can't do it. Clucking, I guess it sounds like
I wouldn't
clucking.
say that was clucking. Is that clucking?
Sort of like a chicken clucking, doesn't it? Yeah.
What's this?
Sounds the same to me.
No, I don't know.
Or your false teeth coming loose.
How about that one?
That sounds like the pantomime.
Noises, ladies and gentlemen. Mouth sounds. Oh, I've told you how I cannot stand. I was watching a movie the other day. Not really. Listening to a movie with my back to the screen because I was on my computer. And I could tell that there was something, something sexual was about to happen. And then all of a sudden it got very...
Was that like the sounds
then I got...
Sokolowski heard, or whatever his name was?
I got very quiet. I mean, it got very quiet. Yes. I'm still on my computer. And then you hear that... You hear this... Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like messy kissing.
You just hear like...
Well, that's like what the guy said he heard.
I'm thinking, God, stop it! Stop it! It sounds so disgusting. I don't want to hear it.
But did you turn around and look?
No.
Oh.
But why can't they tamp down the mics? No one wants to... Does anyone like those sounds?
Oh, I'm sure someone does.
It does?
I'm sure they wouldn't put them in.
It's just the sound of, it's wet mouths,
yes,
like it coming together
it's
and
like,
pulling
it's
apart.
It's like wet epidermal abrasion.
That's right. I just, if I'm
epidermal abrasion with Vaseline.
Well, no Vaseline required. I think with Vaseline it would keep it from being so.
Right, yeah.
Right. So I'm perfectly okay with that sound if I'm making it. Right. Then it seems perfectly okay.
It's
but
like,
somebody
Mom,
else,
I want some more. What a way to begin a show, dear.
Mouth noises.
With mouth sucking, yes.
Blech, blech.
They're going to think this is a very different kind of show.
Well, who knows what the hell this is. This is the Lynn Cullen Show, Lynn Cullen Live. This is Tom Sokolowski, late of the Warhol.
But not late of this world.
No, not late of this world. Still kicking.
Still kicking, yeah, I love that expression.
He put it on the map. That'd be the Warhol.
Thank you.
And he joins us every Thursday, and so it must be Thursday, and in fact it is. It is July. July. Do you get that? That's July. That's wishful thinking.
Yeah. No. I love the fall, so I'm glad we're in September.
Yeah, it is September. In fact, the third.
You know, it was very funny. Yesterday, I was looking up something, and I was thinking, when does autumn begin? And I was going through my diary.
September 22nd?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But what's interesting is it had everything from Tisha B'Av to Shavuot to...
It had all the Jewish holidays?
Yeah, and then it had Irish ones, and it couldn't tell me. So, of course, I had to go to the internet, and it was September 22nd. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, this is a heavy time for Jewish holidays. I even get mixed up as to what's going on.
Yeah, because, Rosh Hashanah...
Well, there's Rosh Hashanah, which is coming right up. I guess it's next Monday I won't be here, right? Because I'll be...
And then Yom Kippur is what, about 10 days later?
Yom Kippur is 10 days later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the heavy-duty fast one. Mm-hmm. And then that's followed by...
Sukkot.
Well, good for you.
I told you I'm the most Jewish person who's not Jewish in the world.
I would say Sukkot, but that's okay. But there's different ways you could say Sukkos, Sukkot, or you said Sukkoth.
Yeah, that's also one.
Whatever. But a sukkah is those little. It's a little
like a hut,
made out of
hut. Leaves.
And very religious Jews build little huts and are supposed to be.
Sit in them,
taking their meals in them, and I mean, I guess you could really go.
Once there was something in New York.
It always gets very cold.
Yeah.
Right, so you
I remember they showed the Today Show or something, and someone on a very grand terrace on Fifth Avenue or Park Avenue or something had built one of these huts. It was hilarious, but they had, it wasn't like, because I've seen them in Squirrel Hill, usually sort of tacky ones. This was done by like the florists.
Well, there are these kits you can get, and there are ones that are lovely, but mostly it's supposed to be a very primitive, rustic. The holiday is a harvest holiday.
Yes, right. Yeah.
So you're living amongst the harvest. You're amidst the harvest.
You're roughing it, so to speak.
Your walls and your ceilings are made of
thatch,
vegetation. Yeah, and all of that. So I have never built a sukkah myself.
Go out and do it.
It's a lot of work. I have enjoyed the sukkahs of others. I have enjoyed the sukkahs
while they're making
their
smacking sounds.
Right. The succor and sukkahs of others.
We've just taken
I rely on
Judaism
the sukkahs
down
of strangers. Oh,
and you
God.
throw away your surah when you're in your sukkah.
Throw away your tzoras in your sukkah. No, but it's not.
Lynn has just lifted me up in a chair. I'm suspended as a new bridegroom or something.
Listen, before my Jewish audience starts to think I'm
anti-Semitic. I'm
not anti-Semitic. I'm just saying making
with a
fun.
friend. I don't know if I ever told you this. I went with a friend to this wedding in Crown Heights, which is, the center
very, 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 very Orthodox. Yeah.
And it was the grandson of Rabbi Schneerson, remember him?
Wow. Oh, how did you get?
A friend of a friend's. It was amazing.
Yeah, but when I think of your friends, and then I think of Rabbi Schneerson,
this was
who is said to be the Messiah.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, how do you get that degree of separation?
Well, this was someone who had interviewed him, or I can't remember the whole thing, but anyway, but there were thousands of Hasids.
And they all look exactly the same.
Exactly, and they're holding this chair up, and we were swirling. It was quite an
experience. Wasn't it incredible?
And of course, the women were somewhere doing what
they were doing the same thing someplace else. No, it is so. I got to tell you, these Orthodox in their way, they know how to party. Yeah, I mean, granted, the men are over there and the women are over there, but everybody's having a hell of a time.
If we did something like put the Hasidim together with the Amish and see if they could just because they're equally wacko.
Well, the Hasids have been called the urban Amish.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but that's only because they maintain customs and clothing. I think it's mostly the outward look, the clothing of centuries and centuries past.
Yeah.
And so they look sort of like frozen in time. They're oddly out of place.
Well, and I always like the thing that, I remember that famous movie, I can't remember the name of it, about the Nazis in Brazil who come back to get their money, which is in a New York bank or something. But it's true that on 47th Street in New York, which is where the diamond
Yeah.
these guys are walking around with millions of dollars of raw diamonds in their pockets.
You think? You ever put your hand in one of their pockets?
Yeah,
That's a good way to get your hand probably cut off.
Right,
they got diamonds in their pockets.
Oh, yeah, because they're going and they're dealing.
They're going back and forth and back and forth. Whatever.
What was that movie? It was so with
yeah, I can't think of it.
Marathon Man.
Was that it? Marathon with Dustin Hoffman
and the dentist.
Yeah.
Is it safe?
Yeah.
It was a brilliant movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
Okay. Well.
Let's get down to something more serious than the dancing Hasidim.
Well, if I ever told you the story of the first Orthodox wedding I went to, it was also in New York City. It was held, the wedding itself was held in Central Park.
Oh.
But the whole party walked from this hall, I don't know where we had started the festivities and where we would end them, over to the park so that the wedding could take place outside. And this was, like you, I mean, it was the most raucous, riotous, fascinating cultural experience I had. I was there with, this was a producer from Channel 4 who was getting married. And we went, so Sally Wiggin and me and some other people of Channel 4 were all there. We were...
And he was Orthodox?
She.
Oh, the wife.
She, get this, was African American.
Oh, weird.
Very unusual.
Yes, I would think so.
She had worked at Channel 4, and then all of a sudden, she was gone for years, and then we get an invitation to her wedding. And last time I saw her, she was a sweet little Christian girl from Philly.
All of a sudden,
she's marrying. I mean, I was.
Wow. I
said, Sharon, what are you doing with a nice Jewish boy?
Well, and also, I mean, I'm surprised that community would accept
Totally
her.
took her in.
Well, good for them.
Totally
on that
took
level.
her in, and she did not convert because she was marrying this guy.
Yeah.
She converted and then met him.
Oh, interesting.
She went on a trip to Israel. And just got blown away.
Wow.
And converted. And she's one of the brightest people I know. And she's still married, probably has 100 million children. I haven't checked. And she's down in Florida now, and I believe that she's got
her career?
She maintained her career, which is, I think, unusual. I don't know, but maybe not.
You mean in terms of
I think
Orthodox?
Yeah, and she's a magazine editor.
Wow. Now, did she accept the whole thing of wearing the wig and the long schmata dress? And
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. All I know, I remember her parents were there, and they looked very uncomfortable. I mean, because they were. It's one thing if your daughter goes off and marries a Jew, but this is a Jew on steroids, and this is like so. Even to the Jews there, the Jews there, like myself, it was alien and amazing and sort of wondrous. But this is. I can't even imagine. Well, I still have video of that. I took video.
Well, I respect that. I mean, I would have thought that community is so insular and inbred that to accept someone who was black would just be like...
No.
Schwarzer.
Huh? No problem. Okay, so I guess we should we should stop avoiding this big news about what the hell's going on.
The murder of the American ambassador.
There's so many ways to approach this thing. There's the Romney outrageous, I think, absolute misrepresentation of the president's response. I mean, it's another lie.
Yeah.
If somewhere in all my papers I could find the exact lie. But
well, the question for me was, is he and his advisor are they so stupid not to check their facts?
Well, apparently yes. They didn't have the facts.
Well, or were they saying it, facts be damned, down the torpedoes, as they say,
well, I think
just to try to make a...
Well, as they say, that once they knew, just to score a point, once they knew they didn't backtrack, they doubled down, as it were. And in fact, some of the Republicans who were jumping on them yesterday are now saying that they did the right thing. They decided they're going to go with the lie. We've always gone with lies,
really?
and it's not a bad
Because
idea.
what I saw on the web yesterday was that the only two people that supported Mr. Romney were the lovely Sarah Palin, and then some guy whose name I had never heard, who was some
No, John
honcho.
John Kyle did.
okay.
Reince Priebus.
That's the one. I didn't. Who was that? I'd never heard that name.
Isn't that a name? Reince Priebus.
God.
That name came up yesterday. He's the head of the Republican National Committee.
Oh, that's right. That's what it is.
RNC.
But I'd never heard that name.
Listen to this. So if you take the vowels out of his name, just take the vowels out. You know what you're left with?
RNC.
RNC PRBS. And that's what his job is. Is that not the funniest
That
thing
sounds
you've
like
ever
something
heard?
like you get in the Aztec calendar.
Oh, yeah, that is too
and it's
funny.
It's like in a what's his name? The guy who wrote the Leonardo Codex. What was that book called? The Leonardo? No. The Da Vinci Code.
Oh.
You know, you take the things out and it tells you where Mary Magdalene is buried or something. No, it was horrible because for those of you who only saw the story marginally, there was a very awful film, and Lynn can talk a little bit more about that was made by
no,
someone.
there probably is not even a
that's
film.
not even a film, but it's a trailer, I guess.
There
you'd
might
say.
be a film, who the hell knows.
And no one is quite sure who the person is.
I think
who
we're
made
closing in on it.
Closing in. But anyway, it was put on the web here first, and then it got translated into Arabic, and it was sent abroad. And, of course, people saw it, and it was probably focused to certain people abroad, certain fundamentalists, and they were outraged because it takes Muhammad to task and makes him look like a...
Oh, I mean, just vile.
Yeah.
It makes it...
So, of course,
right.
What happened was in...
you don't have to explain this.
Well, no, but people didn't...
Oh, who wouldn't?
all right.
Anybody listening to this
I'm
show...
just trying to... All right.
Why would they listen to this show if they
Well,
didn't
if I
know
didn't
that?
get to see the paper this morning...
No, but that was yesterday's news.
Well, that's true. It was yesterday. Well, in the afternoon news.
They don't need to know it. They know it. They're ahead of us.
Okay.
They're
But
ahead
the whole
of
big
us.
thing was, as Mr. Obama said, his great line was, Mr. Romney shoots and then aims later. And which I thought was a brilliant
Okay,
line.
well, so what Romney did is he snagged a statement that had come out of the embassy in Cairo when, the tension was building.
Right.
Nothing had happened yet, but the tension building because of this trailer. And so they put out a message about how we support...
And you're explaining now.
Well, I'm going to get to the Romney.
Oh, I see. All right.
So about how, they were trying to tamp everything down and saying we deplore, anybody
Racial
making
prejudice,
fun
et cetera,
of religious prejudice, da-da-da-da-da. Romney takes that statement and says that was the White House statement apologizing after they
the
had burned our
yeah.
flag, after they had stormed the... And
I'm going to see.
Then...
Well, and then to me, one of the most shocking things, if I may interrupt for a second, was at least in, because I think in Benazgra, whatever the city was where the ambassador was killed.
Benghazi.
No, was it Benghazi? Oh, okay, Benghazi. It was like flash and burn. Whereas in Cairo, from what I read, the police did nothing to stop.
Well, they were very late in moving.
Well, I mean, what I read said, like, they stood back and said, go to it.
Well, the guy who pays their wages is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. That would be the president.
Well, I know. Well, but that's the point. Was it sanctioned?
Okay,
We need a little bit of a sop for the crowds.
Okay, so going to Gail Collins' column today in the New York Times, she says, so this is after, after Romney's made this total lie of a statement trying to suggest that Obama apologized. Then she says this. So it turns out Romney has no restraining inner core. All the uneasy feelings you got when he went to London and dissed the Olympic organizers can now come into full bloom. He really seems ham-handed.
That's right.
Quick to say things that turn out not to be true. So she says, here is what he said, explaining why he broke into the moment of rising international tension, denouncing the White House for a statement made by the American embassy about the importance of respecting other people's religions.
Right.
And I want to, again, point out before there had been any violence. Okay, this is Romney. This is after the fact when he could have backed away. They clearly sent mixed messages to the world. And the statement came from the administration. And the embassy is the administration. The statement that came from the administration was a statement which is akin to apology, and I think was a severe miscalculation.
He's wrong.
He's just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't back away. He wouldn't. He wouldn't back away.
But part of the whole thing is this notion of, well, we shouldn't have to apologize because our country and our religions are better, and he probably would agree with them. But it would have been a bigger man to say, I did not want to stir up international, and I, with my advisors, he could even put it off to them, didn't tell me the timing of all this.
Right.
And
and a head will roll or whatever. Exactly. He would have
presidential.
Better. Right. So, as she says, he went for a cheap attack at a time when any calm, mature adult would have waited and opted for at least a brief show of national unity.
Well, exactly.
When Americans are attacked, that was an attack on our country. When an embassy is attacked, that's our country.
Yeah. And he's not the president yet.
And he's not the president
shut his
yet.
Mouth.
And she says, this is great, the one big advantage to being a boring candidate is that you give the appearance of calm and stability. Right. But suddenly, Romney seemed to want to go, quite the other way.
Playing Jimmy Cagney.
Whatever.
Come on, guys, come on. Well, added to this, it's interesting. This was in the Times, I think, yesterday. The new president of Egypt is someone who, up until quite recently, or even today as we speak, does not believe that Arabs or Muslims were responsible for 9/11.
Who does he think was responsible?
Well, he doesn't know, but his comment was translated to be something like, those planes went through that building like a knife through bread. How could that happen? He then said, isn't it interesting that so many Jews work in financial... But wait. And all the Jews took off that day. So, there was probably a bomb.
Okay, well, when
in
did
the
he say
building.
this?
Oh, he's been saying it for being president. And
so again, just repeating all these lies. Right.
But partly he's supposed to come to America, I think, in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, because the United Nations.
Yeah, that's right, because you're absolutely right. And some people want Obama not to meet him. And
I don't know. I think they spoke by phone yesterday. And the most fascinating thing that Obama has said, and this was in an interview he did with Telemundo, the Spanish network yesterday, he was specifically asked, hey, look, how do we give all this foreign aid to this country?
Right.
Is Egypt really, this is our ally? And Obama said, and believe me, no president has said this in my memory, not since Mubarak, not for decades. Mm-hmm. Obama said they are not, I wouldn't call them an ally. I wouldn't call them an ally, but I also wouldn't call them an enemy. So that has to be very interesting to a lot of people. Yeah. He was saying, hey, if this is the way you're going to play this game, Egypt, we don't have to give you this aid.
Yeah.
We give you aid for something back. That's the way this works, tit for tat, guys.
Sure.
And if this is what we're going to get back, screw this.
Well, that's what I was hinting at or saying earlier, which is it's one thing to say in a country like that with many illiterate people, etc., and you get someone who takes to the street and they start screaming in a mob, well, in any country. But then that the police weren't there to barricade the American embassy does show complicity on the part of their administration.
Well, I'll tell you, I think, too, of the two countries, Obama's also made it clear that he knows that what happened in Libya did not come from the Libyan government.
That's right, exactly.
So he feels absolutely certain that the Libyan government will, in fact, work very closely with him to find out who the hell these SOBs were and to take them out. And they'll take them out. They'll take them out with their little
drones or whatever.
You don't have to go in and do what the Republicans like to do, which is make big boom, 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 boom wars.
And then get us in a war that's still there 10 years later.
Just do the surgical thing. Just do it. Bang, 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 and get these SOBs. The ambassador they killed was absolutely, without a doubt, one of our best.
That's from everything I read.
Just one of the best. He's like one of these Americans that, if you could clone, the world would be a better place. He'd been in the Peace Corps and in the Middle East and had just fallen in love with it. He, learned the language. When 9/11 happened, he was serving in, I think maybe Syria. And he went out of, where everybody else is cowering, all the Americans are cowering in the consulate. He went out into the street to talk. He wanted to talk to the Syrians. What is going on here? And so he trusted the people. He liked the people. He worked with the people. He was well liked in return.
And Mrs. Clinton said that he was instrumental in helping to bring down
Gaddafi, without a doubt, and helping
even
Libya.
She was teary-eyed when they were there.
Oh no, I'm sure. I mean, I think this man was loved by the people in the State Department.
That's what it's tragic. Someone who not just is a government factotum, but really takes to the culture and feelings and thoughts of the place where he's serving, and can then really be someone who can take the American cause and really integrate it into whatever country he may be, as opposed to some of these people who are like Jiffy Lube heiresses, who just go there and sit there and go to parties.
Right, this was the real deal. So if I don't know. Okay, I don't want to maybe. Let's take a break. It's too depressing.
Yeah, it is depressing.
It's just too
on all levels.
Damn depressing. Okay, back in a minute. If you guys have anything to throw in here, do it.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get 50% off admission to Wildwood Highlands and My Little Outback. bergbargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. bergbargains.com.
Future of the plastic surgery world is all about non-invasive procedures. Leading the way into the future is the Sewickley Med Spa. Do you suffer from turkey neck, droopy belly, sagging skin, or wrinkles? Well, it's time to say goodbye to these problems. Sewickley Med Spa has a new revolutionary pain-free procedure that plumps up collagen fibers to get rid of droopy, flabby skin. Call 412-259-8628 for a free consultation to see if you qualify as a candidate for this new age-reversing procedure. You'll experience immediate results after just one treatment. This procedure has been seen on news reports and in cosmetic magazines. A European secret is now at Sewickley Med Spa, the first and only credited location in the Pittsburgh area. Again, for your free consultation, call 412-259-8628. Look and feel your best by taking advantage of this clinically proven non-invasive pain-free procedure. Sewickley Med Spa, Broad Street in Sewickley.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education, brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, we are back. I want to point out that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is, I believe, as we speak, hearing the voter ID law appeal. And given the makeup of that court, I would not hold your breath.
Right.
There's a editorial in the New York Times today that says, in part, there is no legitimate government interest that justifies the burden this law imposes on voters.
Right. But there was something.
And it also says the law will result in disproportionate harm to minorities, people with low incomes, and senior citizens. The court should enter an injunction against it before the November elections. And the Times also points out how the Republican majority leader, Mike Turzai, is on tape boasting that this law will, quote, allow Governor Romney to win the state of Pennsylvania. My understanding is that even with this law, Romney ain't going to win Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. You know, they're trying everything, stacking the deck.
Well, it's interesting that the front page of the Post-Gazette, Tim McNulty, opponents of Pennsylvania's strict new voter identification requirements say voting will be suppressed come Election Day, but the state's top election official, Carol Kelly, is arguing the opposite, saying state efforts may trigger record turnout on November 6th.
Well, if there's record turnout, it will be because Democrats are so pissed off. Right. They will. Yeah. And they're organizing. So. And they are organizing. Yeah. It is not at all what Ms. Ackley, or whatever her name is, and the Republicans in Harrisburg expected. The consequence of this law. But we'll see. This law is an outrage. Yeah. Speaking of Harrisburg, I saw that the Harrisburg newspaper, what is it called? The Patriot Ledger or something? The Harrisburg newspaper, which is the paper that broke the Sandusky story, and the young woman reporter who broke the story, she's like 23 years old, won the Pulitzer Prize last year. She won a Pulitzer, 23. She's like, green as heck out of journalism school, and she did it. The paper she works for, after that great coup of having their young reporter win the Pulitzer, has
fired her.
No, is not going to. Well, it's only going to publish 3 days a week. And more papers are doing that. I mean, that is not an unusual thing. And now we've got the Harrisburg paper doing it as well. It's I don't know. So
everyone's going to be sitting in their beds with their coffee mug and their laptop on their lap. It does. It's very funny. Like, I didn't listen yesterday, but I think I listened to you on Monday and Tuesday. And I was at the computer, of course, and then I had the paper in front of the computer, and I'm watching you and like multitasking as people do. Much. But there's nothing like having this thing in your lap.
Tell me about it.
Because sometimes you can't read it so well on the web, and also on the web most of the time, and correct me if I'm mistaken, they don't give you the whole long story as you would have it in the newspaper.
Well, I think sometimes that is true. When
so you get USA Today.
I had a friend here on Monday who's written a book, and we were talking afterwards. Jess and Jean Marie and I, about how we all love the sensual aspect of books, the holding of them, the turning of the pages, the smell, the heft, the weight, the that, yada, yada, yada. And,
so no Kindle for you, girl.
No, Jess absolutely says, no, I'm not going to do it. But yes, you are. You will.
Oh, you probably will.
They've got them already for little kids.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, she says.
But what's interesting about what you were saying about
even I think I'll end up with one.
Is at least I have one, but I used it once. But anyway, you can now, and I'm thinking with the new ones even more, that when you do it on the screen, a little, like the edge picks up of what would be
I know. Like
and it goes...
Oh, that's disgusting.
Well, it's like simulated sex. Like we started out with your smacking noises. I mean, if you're reading a Kindle, it's a different, and you shouldn't try to make it reading a book. It's information sharing, just as a long email is not like typing an actual letter. Because what was interesting when you were going back before about saying how something on the internet, this awful film, I found that because of the nature of it, even though typing is typing, a few times in my lives, and one time I got in trouble for this, something happened, and I just wrote this email from hell and sent it. Yeah. And you don't do that when you're typing something.
No.
You will erase it or you whatever.
Well, it takes longer to, you can't
But I mean, what's funny is we can't send it off, but you still can write a very long email. But there's something about it where it's from this notion of speed and then all reduced to those LOLs or OMFG.
Well, stop and
think,
because now we're
stop and think.
Stop and think. We're now down to
don't shoot an aim later.
We're down to texting and tweeting, the compression of what is expected of communication. Obviously. Adjectives, adverbs be damned. We're down to a verb, a subject, and an exclamation point or something. It's not a lot of nuance in that kind of communication.
No.
It's a little unsettling. So anyway, I just want to go back for a second to the point of who made this stupid movie, if in fact the movie exists, because I started by reading the Wall Street Journal today and got one story. Then I went to another thing and got sort of another story. I've got 3 different names have come up. I think the one who's got it, although who the hell knows? The New York Times.
There were 3 names.
Okay, but so both the guys, it's California.
Yes.
These guys are in California. Steve Klein is a guy that gets pointed at by the New York Times. And they say he is a Vietnam veteran whose son was severely wounded in Iraq. He is notorious across California for his involvement in anti-Muslim actions of all kinds. He's an insurance salesman.
Boo!
And the Southern Poverty Law Center is aware of him. He is what was the thing he says he is the founder of Courageous Christians United, which conducts demonstrations outside abortion clinics, Mormon temples, and mosques. He also has ties to the Minuteman movement. The Southern Poverty Law Center also says that Klein taught combat training to members of California's Church at something or other, which the center described as a combustible mix of guns, extreme anti-government politics, and religious extremism with an obsession around Muslims. Okay, so this Klein guy was taking responsibility for a lot of it. Here's what he says to a reporter. "We have reached the people we wanted to reach, and I'm sure that out of the emotion that comes of this, a small what he actually thought was going to happen with this is that Muslims would go in to see this movie and they would be re-educated about the fact that, right. Okay, however, he has a long history, it says, of making controversial and erroneous claims. So that's who the New York Times is talking about. Then you get this from the Associated Press, a man called Nakula Basili Nakula. Also, Southern California says that he is the manager for the company that produced the movie. And he also has a number of aliases and a prison record. And one of his aliases is Nicola Basili, which is real close to Basil, which is the first guy that the Wall Street Journal said it interviewed yesterday. So it appears
Bunch of nice guys.
Yeah, it appears now that this Nakula is in fact the Basil who at first told the Wall Street Journal yesterday that he had gotten the backing of hundreds of Jews for $5 million to make this movie, and that he himself was an Israeli American. The guy is not a Jew. He is not Israeli. He is, in fact, a Coptic Egyptian
Christian.
That's Christian.
Yes.
Okay, and he and understand the Coptic Christians in Egypt are a frightened minority.
Yes, right, yeah.
And more so now with Morsi in power and the Muslim Brotherhood in power.
There wasn't some Coptic girl they thought she was.
That's the wrong country.
Oh,
that's Pakistan.
Oh, that's right.
He's been involved in federal bank fraud charges. He did 21 months in federal prison, blah, blah, blah. I think what's going to turn out to be is that this guy is Basil. Mm-hmm. This Klein guy is on the periphery or part of it, and as is the guy in Florida, the pastor, Terry.
Oh, right.
Reverend
Bernie
Terry.
Korans.
And then there's another Coptic guy in D.C. who has a role here as well. So these are the geniuses who put this together. If you have not looked at the trailer on YouTube, you have got to. It is the most absurdly, outrageously
crappy.
funny crappy. I mean, there are scenes where, you can the production values are such that, well,
it's really not a $5 million.
There's no way. And as somebody said, hey, if I was one of the people who supposedly gave $5 million for this,
I'd get a little annoyed.
Give me my money back, baby, because this looked like, if $50 was spent on it, that's a lot. Unbelievable. And so it looks like this comes out of these very anti-Muslim Coptic Christians and Coptic Christian kooks as well. So this doesn't help the Coptic Christian cause. It doesn't help anybody. But I saw that a Syrian tweeted today, and I don't have the tweet exactly right because I didn't write it down, but I thought it was interesting. This is a guy, a rebel in Syria, they're engaged in a bloody, as you know, civil war. Mm-hmm. And he said, so, this is what gets my Arab brethren in the streets and upset. A stupid movie, a stupid cartoon, a stupid insult, but the blood of other Arabs running in the street just does nothing. So there's a lot of this is all over the place, doing nothing but
Well, it was
creating.
a similar thing, although those were more serious. But when was it a Danish?
Yeah, well, that's what
cartoonist?
he was referring to, the Danish cartoon.
Oh, that. I thought you meant
he was referring to that. Oh, cartoons you'll take to the street and people die and you're upset. How about real, like children, women,
exactly.
and being slaughtered? Where are you?
Yeah, right.
Where are you?
Right.
Then some fool in Southern California does this, which is intended to make you crazy. And, on cue, you get crazy. I don't know. Unbelievable. I think the efforts of the Republicans to politicize this will come to naught. Mm-hmm. I think the president, as usual, looks presidential. And I think Mitt Romney looks like, the more you see of him, the more he looks like a buffoon.
Well, and this is the point where this is when people say, oh, they don't have any international experience. Well, voila.
Because
you're not allowed. I mean, maybe when it's about Obamacare or whatever, you can have all sorts of experts. But it's when something tragic happens
like this
that you have to be able to stand up there, and not only for your own fellow citizens, over which you are the leader of the country, but to other people, to the citizens of the world, you have to appear presidential.
Right. And, I was thinking, Romney really thinks, here's what I think. Romney thinks that he is a capable administrator. And I'll give him that. Maybe he is. Yeah, he knows how to come in, take a foundering Olympic thing and whip it into
more
shape.
More snow.
Whip it into shape, get people to move, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And because he has that skill in the corporate world and in the private sector, he thinks that's all a president is. That you walk into that Oval Office and start doing that again. But it is so not that. Well, it is so not that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This touches a real point in me because similarly, when, I guess 20 years ago, there was this move that, everyone who does nonprofit stuff, not just arts but, hospitals and whatever, raising money for this, or, what we really need is business people to come in and show us the rigor, etc. And one thing I've always said, and this isn't just self-aggrandizement, that I think being a politician, a good politician, or someone who works for a nonprofit, it's far more complicated because, as you said, Mr. Romney did very well with the Olympics and some of his Bain, all that business. But, like in my business, you may know what the mission is of your organization. You may know what's right. But sometimes a trustee will sort of twist your arm to say, I want my paintings of my son to be shown in your museum, or I think such and such. And you're sometimes forced to do that because that person is your overseer, so to speak. I mean, when in a business, it's not to say the business is easy, but you have a bottom line. And if, Krispy Kremes aren't selling, you make chocolate donuts. And good politicians and good nonprofit leaders have far more because you have many agendas. You have many kinds of people you have to talk to. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about coming in and snapping your fingers. And I know of one person who I won't refer to who came into the job, a similar kind of job, and said, "Oh, I thought it was going to be much easier than it is."
No, it's totally it's apples and oranges. It's watermelons and blueberries. It is not the same thing. And that's what a lot of these people say. You need a CEO, a business manager. No, the country is not a company.
Right.
We don't have. It's a totally different model. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And I saw something interesting that Obama had said, which I had really never thought of before. And I think Michelle mentioned it in the convention. Mm-hmm. And she said, look, here's the way it works. If you're at the top, you're the president. The only thing that reaches you is the absolutely impossible stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that can get, we got to do that. That gets taken care of.
Exactly.
The only thing that gets to the president, what the president was saying, what I heard, is he said, by the time something gets to me, it's a judgment call.
Of course.
It's never this is obvious.
Yeah,
it's never that. So it's always a weighing. It's a 60-40. It's a 70-30 at best. It's, all right, well, we can do this, and here's what might happen. Or can do this.
Right.
And he said you need to be somebody who's capable of, thinking and then making a decision and not look. You cannot once.
You can't waver, right.
You can't look back. You do it and then move on. If there are unintended consequences, then you deal with something else again. But it is the hardest stuff. The stuff that, and of course, if it's a judgment call, you're not going to get it every time. You're not going to make the right judgment every time.
I mean, you hope, let's say, before you send drones to kill those people in Libya, you ask 4 or 5 experts. All right, tell me Joe, tell me Bob, tell me Mary.
But then you have
this
to
is
take
decision.
all that
yes.
in.
And you say, well, okay, but Mary, I have to go against you because...
That's what he said. In fact, that's what was said about, I guess Biden was talking about how he handled the Osama bin Laden thing. He had everybody telling him yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and a lot of no's. Don't do it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Too risky, blah, 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 blah. He takes it all in, and then he's left with the choice. He makes it. So...
but kind of funny, when you said that, flicked in my mind something on the web that, did you hear about rhubarb gate? Well, you know how Mrs. Obama was saying that all of the vegetables served at the White House were being grown on that patch? Well, it turns out that... and other stuff. Well, when they have these huge dinners, it's not like the girls and Obama...
Okay, so what incredible journalist broke this story?
I don't remember.
You mean somebody found out that...
It was on the Huntington Post. But,
yeah.
But it's just I can see, Mr. President, would you comment on rhubarb gate?
Oh, dear God. Help.
Oh, wait, we're sending the extra broccoli to Bush. Wasn't it Bush who didn't like broccoli?
Yeah. Oh, God, it was HW. Yeah.
That's right, it was HW.
Oh, my God. So anyway, Tim writes, back to the Harrisburg paper going to just 3 days print, the death of newspapers is good for Republicans, too. Less informed people? Less informed people are easier to manipulate.
Yes, of
Let's
course.
put it that way. And if one thing the Republicans like to do is manipulate people as much as they possibly can. Oh, God. The world is a... Did you see this thing about a Renoir being found at a flea market in West Virginia?
I saw the blurb, yeah.
Why doesn't something like that ever happen to me? But then I don't go to flea markets. I don't go to flea markets. This woman picked up for $7 a box of crap, trinkets and stuff, and there was one beautiful frame in there with a picture. She almost ripped the picture out and threw it away because she liked the frame. And then somehow, lucky move,
let's look at
she thought, maybe I'll see if this is something. Yeah, it was something. It's a Renoir. And there's apparently no mistake about it. And in fact, there was a little plaque on it that said Renoir.
Well, but that's...
Yeah, that could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. But
the person who vetted it said it's not a painting that you could fake. If you're going to fake something, you wouldn't fake something. You would fake something a lot easier than this is. So anyway, it's set for auction, and saying it could get $75,000. Why wouldn't it get more than $75,000?
Well, it's quite small, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it probably is teeny if it was on this. And they're trying to figure out how the hell it got to West Virginia, and they can't figure it because they
did they know
they say
what
Renoir
the
gave Renoir gave the painting to the woman who modeled for him, a woman who modeled for him. She's not in this painting. The painting was then sold to the Bernheim Jeune Art Gallery in 1925, according to gallery records. The following year, the gallery sold the painting to an American, Herbert May, who had homes in New York, Geneva, and Washington. And then, as far as they can tell, May kept the painting until his death in 1966. And then what the hell happened? They don't know. Still, its provenance is fairly short, as the painting has not traded hands many times. This painting has not been seen since 1926.
Wow, great.
Why can't I ever find anything like that? I had a friend who thought he found a Calder at a and boy, his efforts to have one Calder person said, "I sure think that is," and then another said, "Nah," and he can't. It probably is, but you end up with I don't know. It's a paint. It's a
sketch.
It's sketch.
Well, I don't know if there's a Calder Foundation or not.
There's something. There is. Yeah, there's something.
Many of these have authentication boards. So.
Right. Ooh, I have to take a break. We're making noises again. Oh, by the way. Okay, later.
Lynn Cullen Live.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual Fall Arts Preview is available now. Pick up one today for the most comprehensive arts, music, events listings, plus previews of the top shows and performances coming to the Burgh this fall. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Well, as proof that advertising on the Lynn Cullen Show works, I have next to me Tom Sokolowski, who, upon hearing my plea from the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council for tutors, signed up.
Yes, I did.
And you're going for your first training session Saturday.
Yes, you are required to do 12 hours of training. And what's very interesting about this is the fact that they sent me some stuff, and there was a very interesting sheet on it because I'm going into it because you put out the plea and I heard it, but it was very interesting because they said, well, you really need to think, and they're always there, the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council, to help, but sometimes people don't show up for their lessons and that can be frustrating. You think, I'm giving my free time, but it said they talked to a number of instances, people because they have a very junky car and the car breaks down, or they come from very far away, or their children were sick, or people get angry and frustrated because we've talked about the embarrassment of not knowing how to read when you're 43. So all these things you have to think about, that when you're thinking you're going to be Lady Bountiful, it's not so easy.
Isn't that
both for you and for the students?
That is right. And so they're saying, roll with it. I mean,
exactly.
This is an experience for everybody involved, and
if you can, maybe to meet from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, before
or closer to where the person
lives. Then it makes it easy. They don't have to be late for work because obviously that's the main thing you do to put bread on the table. But it was very, very thoughtful, I thought.
They're a great organization. The Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council might have snagged Tom Sokolowski, but they need more. Right?
I'm big, but I'm not that big.
And we're hoping you might be one of those people who can help somebody learn how to read. Help yourself. feel good about being alive. There's no way you don't feel good when you volunteer.
Or thinking about the pleasure. Forget about all this business of getting a license and all that's very important. But just the pleasure from reading a good book or reading the newspaper, and getting angry at this Romney situation or whatever. But just the pleasure, the window that's opened for you.
Right. So if you want to just find out more, it's not, you can call without obligating yourself. Give them a call. Get some of this information that Tom is talking about and think about it.
And they also do, in addition to the reading, English as a second language.
Yes, right, which you can learn to do as well.
And I think they can even do ones, let's say, if you're trying to get a GED or something, if you have a specific expertise, let's say, in math or science, they do that kind of tutoring as well.
The phone number, 412-393-7600, or on the web at GPLC, Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council.org.
Get Lynn Cullen live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, welcome back. Paul Krugman, yes, said a company is not a country. Yes, he did a great thing. Thank you.
It's a dictatorship.
Well, a company... Yeah, it can be because you've got this sort of Politburo of board of directors as well. But it's all about enriching... It's about enriching the stockholders.
Right.
That's not what a country's about.
No. And a country, just by the very nature of it, is about heterogeneity, not homogeneity.
Okay, here is what PJ writes. There is a vast difference between basing our lives on commodity and bottom line or basing our lives on culture/development. Treating our government like a business is a race to the bottom. Tom is right about nonprofits. Often nonprofit efforts aren't something that can be based on tangible monetary products. They are most often ephemeral things that heal the body and soul, thereby developing the culture and personal freedom. And that's what a government should be based on, as much as the right cries about individual freedom. They know not of the actual thing.
Bravo. Bravo. That was very, very beautifully put.
Well said.
Without periods, though.
And now, from that very high-minded thing...
to the bottom of the gutter.
That's right. We are going to your new addiction.
Oh, my. What is that? Oh, Honey Boo Boo. Except I've not watched it. I love telling people about it, but I haven't really watched it.
Well, I'm playing. I play Scrabble online.
Oh, one of those games
with Jess. Mm-hmm. And last night we're going back and forth with moves, and it's like almost midnight, right? It's almost midnight.
Sick women.
And I said to Jess, "Go to bed." I said, she's always complaining she's tired. I said, "Go to bed," and she puts another word in and writes back, "No, Honey Boo Boo's on," and blah. Isn't that what you said? Yeah. And then she put gonads down.
Well, that's a word.
It's a very good word. She's had some doozies lately. Yeah. She put gonads down, and I said, well...
I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, I said, all right. For leaving your gonads for the morning, and I'm going to bed. So, Honey Boo Boo, this is... I'm going to read a few things, and you tell me whether you agree or disagree.
Okay.
The show consists of course, a 6-year-old Honey Boo Boo child, her 300-pound mother, June, who is, get this, I didn't know this. She's a grandmother. We know that because the kid just had a kid. She's 32 years old.
Oh, my God.
That woman.
That's shocking.
It is. She's 32. She's a grandmother. I didn't become a mother till I was 44. She's 32. Why are it's these people that breed like rabbits? They produce 6 generations by the time Jesus, God Almighty. But okay, and they say, for those of you who don't know, these are people who they dine on roadkill. They eat cheese puffs off the floor. They fart and burp and laugh when the pet pig defecates on the kitchen table. And to get little Honey Boo Boo amped up for one of her little beauty contests, the 32-year-old mother feeds her daughter a mixture of Red Bull and Mountain Dew. She's 6 years old. That's child abuse.
Really?
Okay. So okay. And here's a critic who says, it makes Jersey Shore look like Masterpiece Theater. Ain't that the truth? And it said, and here's what I want to ask you. Tim Goodman in The Hollywood Reporter says, how can anyone watch this in good conscience? I ask you.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, but and that's
exactly
again what they say. It is pure exploitation, though. It is a green light to laugh at rednecks and fat people.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's it.
Fair enough.
So these two who love the show are agreeing that is what it is. Well, you're outrageous.
But we are the people. No. No, it is Schadenfreude. Like, oh, those silly little people. And we're maybe being sort of let them eat cake. But,
I remember, when Tom Sokolowski first came to town and he's, some of your comments would be in the paper. I thought, ooh, this guy is like, I was scared of you. I was. I thought, whoa. He's so smart and he's slashing in his wit and he doesn't suffer fools and blah, blah, blah. And then, I really was. I was scared of him. I thought he was so high.
I never took you to task.
No, he was so high and mighty. He was so,
baloney.
I thought, he's one of these sophisticates who, talks about art and knows all the artsy, fartsy people and stuff. But it turns out it's not so much the artsy as you get to know him. It's the fartsy. And I just want to show you this. This is unbelievable. Did you just buy this?
Yes.
You found this.
Talked about it, yes.
Because I had once, this is a book on the Fartiste. And it is a true story.
Yeah, Joseph Pujol.
We talked about him before. Right. I forgot where I saw that story about the
You gave me the Wikipedia explanation of him.
But I mean, how odd that a guy whose talent was being able to fart the Marseillaise.
Yes. And you could recognize it. For tone and
pitch, everything. Packed in theaters. Kings and Queens came.
And for every performance, there would be nurses and doctors on call because people would start laughing so
hard
much
they would faint.
And have heart attacks.
They would have heart attacks. And I thought, how could this be true? And in fact, here is the entire story, lovingly told. And this is for something you can share with your
children love farting.
Child. I know. So it's a children's book that tells the real story. And I sometimes get asked to do, read to children.
So
I think I got my next
good. Well,
book.
You use it.
Fartiste. There you go. So look at how this
and
show
if you look on the web, there are actual old photographs of him. And I think there's one early, because he died, I think, not in the 60s or the 50s. It's
wow, he lived a long time.
So there's some early movies of him, and then there's an early, what were they, the cylinders, I guess, before you got 78s, and you can hear him farting. But it's...
you can hear him?
Yes. And then when they translate the French, they'll say, this is a young wife going to her first marital bed. And then there's this sort of weepy little...
It says here he could
passing wind.
Okay, with his he would obviously have his back to the audience.
No, he didn't have his back. He would sort of.
He would.
It looks like you wouldn't see his
face.
Rectum, so to speak.
No, but he would
sort of do a sort of side maneuver.
Whatever.
And this was even before microphones. Remember?
Oh, that's right. He could project.
Yes.
So you have a packed crowd.
Like a great operatic diva.
That's right. It says here he could whisper or sneeze, achoo, gesundheit, or boom boom, blast off like a gun or dynamite. Animal sounds he'd do like an arf from a dog, a cry from a rooster, a croak from a frog, a bit of Beethoven, a song by Mozart, a Debussy ditty, all through a fart. Men chewed their mustaches, keeping straight faces, while women went breathless in corsets with laces. He was beloved. He outdrew the great actress Sarah Bernhardt. There you go. Nurses were stationed in the aisles to scout for those laughing so hard they completely passed out. Joe never stopped adding new sounds to his act, keeping the theater completely jam-packed. So this is a poem.
Well, many children's books are in verse.
Okay. Presidents came, even a king and a queen, raising their brows, wanting to deem him obscene. But no matter how proper or sophisticated, all of them ended up discombobulated.
Now, and she's telling me I'm obsessed.
The Fartiste, and I'm glad to see that.
Well, and what's interesting is doing a little bit of research on this, there have been now, within the last 2 years, 2 musicals. One that was done off-Broadway, which was called The Fartiste, and maybe this book directly came out of that, I don't know. But then just, I think this past April or March, in the Philadelphia International Festival of the Arts, there was another musical called A Passing Wind.
Okay.
And both got sort of nice reviews.
Okay. Well, I mean, so if you stop and think, since you've been coming on the show, how it's changed your life. You now watch Honey Boo Boo.
I watch Honey Boo Boo.
You read Fartiste, and you're going to be a tutor.
God,
I'll tell you.
Lynn Cullen, it's like I'm on with you. You've become the Reverend Moon to me.
I'm so proud of you, Tom.
Yeah.
We gotta.
I'm your Honey Boo Boo.
That's right. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Maybe I should use this for my.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.